Hello and welcome to the Inner Sense channel. When we see someone tremoring or shaking, we usually assume that they're either in distress or suffering from some unfortunate condition. But what if tremoring could be a pleasurable therapeutic exercise? Check out this video clip with George Horlock undergoing a trauma or tension releasing exercise session with TRE creator David Bercelli.
It's you feel the release. You feel it.
Okay.
It's like you feel like it was tight, and then you feel it releasing.
That's it. Grown with that. Ugh. Ugh. That's it. Watch your head when you come back down. Bring your knees up so your feet are flat on the floor.
Today I'm joined by George, who shares his experience of TRE. We learn that this type of tremor may be a mechanism laying hidden inside all of us, and if we reveal it, our bodies can figure out how to unravel and release tension by themselves. George is a really open guy and shares how he overcame severe anxiety. Plus, at the end of the conversation, there's a bonus section where we talk about the transformative out-of-body experience that George had during meditation in his early 20s. I hope you enjoy this interview, and please remember to subscribe to the Inner Sense channel for more information about interoception and inner body awareness. Thank you very much. Good morning, George. How are you doing?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Good on this spring day, thanks. So we're here today to talk about TRE, but before we delve into that, can you just give me a little bit of background about you and your career and how you ended up practicing TRE?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I've always been interested in the body and how it works and how I can use it to the best of its ability. As a kid in school, I was always the kid who would sort of jump around. I loved doing gymnastics. I didn't really like sport too much, but I just loved anything that involved the whole body. I always wanted to be some sort of superhero. I remember practicing running to the top of the stairs and literally jumping from the top of the stairs onto a beanbag, just practicing flying as one does. And I truly believed it could happen. I believed that there was a potential to the human body. I believed that we all had it in us to be superhuman, essentially. And then obviously as I get a little bit older, I'm a bit like, okay, maybe that's not going to happen. Move on to other things. In high school, it was the same thing. I wasn't like a popular kid. I wasn't sporty. I wasn't into any of that, but I was still very, very interested in the body and, in science and PE and stuff like that. I'd be very interested when it came to, like, in PE, the gymnastics, and in science when they spoke about the body. I was like, wow, it's so intense. There's so much to it. Like, it's not just this sort of black and white thing that we see every day. There's so much happening inside of it that we're not aware of, or we are, but just unconsciously. And then went on from there into college. When I turned 16, I could actually, I was old enough to go into a gym. So that's the first thing I did. I was exercising at home a lot, doing push-ups and pull-ups and all that kind of stuff. Went straight into the gym when I was 16 and enjoyed it, but didn't do any research. Just picked the weights up and did whatever the other guy was doing, just trying to get as big as I could, because I thought gym is just muscles. That's all you go there for, just to get more muscular, right? If you're a guy. As time went on, I kind of realized that it was quite egoic what I was doing. I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was trying to look good, and it wasn't about feeling good. And then when I was 20, or just before that, actually 19, I qualified as a personal trainer. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. I wanted people to go through a fitness journey, and I wanted to be there to help them with that. So I was working in a gym when I was 20, and then that's when I started to question things more, because I was taking my career a little bit more seriously. I was thinking, I want to be a really good personal trainer. And everyone who was coming to me wasn't worried about the muscles. They were just worried about longevity and how to be healthy and how to train overall and have a body that is well. So I thought, I'm going to take a more holistic approach to this, and I'm going to look into my own health, and I'm going to look into other people's health, and just look into longevity and wellness and health. And if I want to live a long life and I want to be as healthy and as happy as I can be, I need to kind of put the weights to one side. I need to put the 6 meals to one side for a bit and try something else. And the minute I left the weights and I started doing more calisthenics, which is body weight work, I felt so much better in my joints. I felt better in my muscles. I felt better all over. And then when I stopped eating 6 meals and started eating, 1, 2, or 3 meals, I started feeling a lot better and a lot more athletic and energized. So that was great. After that, I started looking into other spiritual practices or holistic practices, meditations for one.
What took you down the route that where you came across this TRE exercises?
Yeah, sure. So, it's interesting, man. I mean, from that experience, everything in my life was a lot more holistic, and I was so into the spiritual stuff and the meditations, and I got into like walking meditations and doing things a lot more physically, and getting into all of that. Discovered Wim Hof and practiced the cold showers and immersing myself in cold waters. And I was in the sea a lot more. I live right next to the sea, so I was always jumping in there, and I was like, wow, this feels really good. I'm getting some health benefits from this. Started getting into hiking and going out and being in nature and building fires and bushcraft kind of stuff. I was like, I'm just going to really embrace my human as much as I can. And then as time went on, man, I just started looking up as much as I could into the different holistic health practices that you can use. And it was literally by chance that I was just on YouTube one day, came across a TRE video. And I was like, what is this? Like trauma releasing exercise? Because when you look up a certain thing on YouTube, they recommend videos to you. And I was like, trauma release. And I looked at it, and I don't know what it was, but I wasn't immensely skeptical, as a lot of people are. A lot of people watch it and they're like that's just fake. But because there was so many people doing it, and thousands of testimonials, and so many videos on it, and the guy who invented it, David Bercelli, seemed like a really nice, genuine, down-to-earth guy. I was like, there's got to be some truth in this. So I thought I'll try it, because I injured myself a lot in the gym from the weights that I used to lift back in the day. I injured my neck, my lower back. And I've always been trying to find things to help relieve pain. I've been looking into like postural correction and all of these things. I've seen so many osteopaths and chiropractors and, all of this. And so I'm always looking into different ways to heal. And when I saw the TRE, I thought this makes a lot of sense to me, because the body knows more than our mind can ever think. And also the mind and the body aren't connected. They're one thing, but it's our sort of ego that's the connected side to it. So I tried it, and I got the tremor in my legs, just a tiny bit, just in my knees, just tremored a little bit, just a little vibration in the knees. And then that was my first session. I was like, okay, interesting. I might try this again someday. Left it for about a week, tried it again, and my legs really started to go. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is good. And then on the second time I did it, it went from my legs and it went into my hips, and my hips would bounce off the floor and just bounce. I was like, wow, this is really funny. I was really giggly, let out a lot of good, happy emotions. It didn't go up to my arms or anything. It was just very much in the hips, and then it would go back to the legs, then back to the hips, back to the legs. Did this for a few times. And then I just kind of called it a day, because I did it before bed. But then I realized I couldn't sleep afterwards. I was like, okay, so it energizes me. This is cool. Maybe I should do this in the mornings before my day starts. Anyway, the third time I try it, I'm at my girlfriend's, and we're lying there, and I'm trying to show her. I'm like, look, I can my legs can tremor. And I did it, and then, man, it went through the hips and started shooting into my arms, into my elbows, my forearms. Everything starts going, and it takes me over completely. And I'm just like a fish out of water, going crazy. And this lasts about 20 minutes, and I really, really go for it, and I'm enjoying it. At the same time, I'm kind of conscious that my girlfriend's finding it hilarious, which is fine, because it is funny. It's hilarious to watch. But in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe if I try this when I'm on my own, when I'm not having a laugh and it's not a funny experience, when I'm taking it totally seriously, maybe it'll change. So after that, I did it a couple more times away from everyone, just by myself. And bro, it was even, and that's something that I've learned about TRE, is if you do it in front of people, it's not always as powerful. When you're on your own, there's no judgment. Exactly. Because we like to say we don't judge and stuff, but everyone's going to be judging.
On some level, even if you're very open, you may be holding back without realizing it. So if you were to explain to someone who's never heard of TRE and you couldn't demonstrate it in words, how would you explain what TRE is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the way that I see it now is it is a way to access a natural reflex within your body's nervous system. And if you view or study the animal kingdom, you'll see that all animals, even insects and stuff, they shake off trauma. So if a dog is going out for a walk or something like before, he shakes off all the excited energy. Or if something bad happens, like they get into a fight, they shake off afterwards. If a gazelle outruns a tiger or a lion, they shake. I made a video about this and I showed the animal shaking after the predator attacks them or tries to get them. And they're shaking off their trauma. They're being authentic. They're being their true selves. Whereas humans, if something upsets us or annoys us or excites us or whatever it might be, we don't hold it in. You'll notice how much children cry, how much children throw tantrums, how they bounce up and down when they're excited. They're constantly releasing the energy. Adults hold in the trauma, hold in the tension. And it's stored in the body because emotions are stored in the body, not in the mind. So when you do when you activate your tremor or your reflex system, your body's nervous system, you start letting out all of this trauma and all the stuff that you've held inside. That's why some people burst out crying. That's why some people burst out into hysterics. That's why some people like me, who carry a lot of tension and trauma in my upper traps and my upper back from all my heavy lifting, that's why when I'm doing it, my body is shaking out all of that trauma. So that's kind of what I'd say to someone who can't see it visually but wants to hear about it.
So it's a very natural thing that we've all got this reflex type reaction in us, but we suppress it. We learn to behave in ways that's more culturally accepted or accepted in our society. And that, usually that doesn't involve just random movements so we kind of train ourselves out of that. I've got a copy of David Bercelli's book here, just for anyone watching who's interested. It's called Shake It Off Naturally. It's not a very easy read, I don't find. It's more a collection of essays rather than a introduction to the therapy. But I thought it was really brave, the video you shared. It was a personal session with David Bercelli himself. So when that was happening, I guess I thought it was a very powerful session because you were able to go into various different positions, standing, and still get the tremors. But you're saying that when you're on your own without people watching, then it's even more dramatic for you.
Yeah, it can be, definitely. I mean, it was near enough the same when I was with David, because I know David's kind of seen it all. Whereas if you're with someone else, they either haven't seen it before or they've only seen you do it. So there's still something in your mind where you're like, I look a bit weird right now, or this is a bit intense. I don't really know what this person's thinking. But when
you're trying to protect them, you don't want to freak them out.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's all it is. It's nothing. You're just trying to. You want people to know that you're okay, sort of thing. And it looks so violent and aggressive, but it's so amazing. So when Dave is watching me, I was very interested to hear what he would say about my movements and my tremors, and because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why my shoulders were doing that. Didn't know why my hips were doing that. I didn't know why I couldn't breathe when I do it. I don't know why I get a dry throat. And that's not to freak people out if they want to try it themselves. I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but I've got a past with severe anxiety, panic attacks. The umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck when I was born. So I've got trauma there that I'm not completely conscious of. But David sort of guided me through that. And yeah, it's a very personal thing. But I think if you practice on your own a lot, you become more comfortable with it.
With the umbilical cord being wrapped around your neck at birth, when did you learn about that? So when were you told about that? And had you been consciously aware that that there might have been some lasting memory or some effect, some imprint left on you throughout your life?
Yeah, throughout my childhood and in high school, man, I had really bad anxiety. Like you don't realize how bad it is at the time because you think you don't have anything. There's no contrast. You don't have anything to compare it to. But looking back at it now, I had a panic attack once that lasted 14 hours. That was like the longest one. So knocked me for 6. And it was every day as well. It wasn't just like here and there. Every single day I'd have severe panic attacks. And I made a video on how I got over that. But and then when that all started happening, and I can't remember how old I was when it started, but I was always very anxious even as a kid. That's when my mum told me, like, oh, maybe it's because when you were born, like you had this umbilical cord wrapped around your neck. Maybe there's some sort of because I was going, when you're in high school, you're going through puberty and stuff. And I think that my brain was just trying to be like, hey, don't leave us alone. Like, this is your child right now. You need to sort something out here. And I wasn't sorting it. So maybe that's kind of what triggered it. But yeah, it was my mum telling me.
Okay, so that's it's great that you've got an open parent and that you've been able to explore this and open yourself up to ways to work through it. And well done for you, because it seems like you're super confident and open now, and your body working well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, man.
And an inspiration to other people who suffer from anxiety as well. Great. So any other types of therapies that you've used aimed at releasing tension in the body apart from TRE? I know exercise itself is a good way of doing that, but have you tried any other types of complementary therapy?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I have done all the different, I've done the sort of the standard stuff, like going to osteopaths and things like deep muscle tissue massages and all of this. Hydralajin as well, something.
What's that?
Hydralajin. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's a Chinese technique. It's not so much for tension, it's more for illness. And it's where you use the meridians in the body. And you do certain stretches and you do certain you slap your body. So I do that. I love the cold water stuff. I feel like that does release a lot of tension. I mean, one of my mates went to see Wim Hof himself and did some cold water immersions and stuff, and he couldn't stop crying the whole time he was there, which is a release. And I just think, for me, I'm trying to be more authentic. That's such an important thing, and I think that's why a lot of people in this society do struggle and are sad, because they're not being authentic. You get home and your husband, your wife might make a comment that you don't agree with, but you don't say anything. You just hold it inside. Or you go to work and you're dealing with a really angry customer and you want to give that back. You want to be authentic, but you have to be very civil and you have to, I'm sorry, madam, As I know you have to do that, but it's not being authentic. So if you're not doing these trauma releasing exercises, you'll find that everything in your life is going to be tough, like your posture and the way that you see yourself, the way that you view yourself. And then we find comfort, like quick release comfort, like bad eating or, I don't know, doing things that we wouldn't normally want to do because we're not being authentic. So for me, I just say, try and be as authentic as you can and surround yourself with people who will allow you to be your true self, because so many of us feel awkward about things. And, and even giving someone like a hug, who's not feeling too good, and you give, and they're a bit like, whoa, what are you doing? It's just like, wow, like we've kind of lost that, you know?
Yeah, very awkward's a good word, and uncomfortable in our skin. And
Yeah.
you know, as you say, I think it's a fine line. We have to kind of sometimes be respectful for other people, and if we were going to share everything that comes, you know, every thought that comes into my head or every emotion that comes up, I let that out onto other people, it might not be good. So, you know, having these, trying to be authentic, but not letting, if we're not able to be truly authentic, or if there is something that starts to build up, having these tools that help us release, so that it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah, just little things like if someone says to me, are you okay? Normally I'm fine. But if I'm not, rather than lying to myself and saying, yeah, I'm fine, lying to the body, I'll just say, I'm not great at the moment, but I'm working on it. I'll let you know in a week. I'm just like, so I don't need to bother them with it. I don't need to be one of those who's like, oh my God, let me tell you everything that's wrong with my life. I'm not like that. I'll just say, like, I'm working on it. I'm going to get, and I'm excited about it. I'm working on it. And how am I working on it? I'm doing TRE, I'm doing meditations, walking meditations. For me, it's a really nice way to do it. I also let out a lot of things like, if I could sing, I'd sing all the time, but I love playing like instruments as well. That's another thing. It's like distractions, takes your minds off things, and letting stuff out, like physically, like we say with exercise as well. Exercise is such a good one.
I want to ask a little bit more about the TRE. Cool. So you've kind of explained that it involves some tremoring, but what I liked in the video, and I'm going to include clips of the video probably at the start of this interview, is that the tremoring moved up and down your body. So, and you described it as it is traveling almost as if it's something else. Can you explain a little bit about this, like, balance between it feeling like it is within your control, but at the same time it's automatic? How did you experience that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's one of those weird things that's hard to explain unless you're doing it, but at the same time, it's kind of like when you're shivering because it's cold, for example, and you're really shivering. If someone came up to you and said, like, oh, here's £100, I'll give it to you if you stop shivering, you could stop yourself from shivering. You could do it. You know, you just have to think about it a bit and then get your breathing and you stop shivering. It's kind of the same as that. So I'm doing all of this. And if I just think, stop, you know, and I'm breathe and I'm like, just stop, it will just slowly shut itself down, which is amazing. And David explains it really well. He talks about how the side of your brain that thinks consciously and then the other bit of your brain that moves your body are two separate parts. And that's why you can talk whilst you're doing it. And he says that's also what allows you to kind of stop it whenever you want. So it's no more frightening than shivering when it's cold. It feels so natural. When you shiver because it's cold, it's not scary because it feels natural. You just know it's a natural thing in your body. When you're doing the TRE and you're shaking, it doesn't feel scary in the slightest because you're aware that it's a natural system. The only times it can become a bit crazy is when, like I say, and I describe it is when you don't know what's going to happen next. So suddenly it's in my arms, then it will shoot into my legs, and I can't really explain what that it is. It just feels like internal energy. It really does. It just feels like internal energy, and you have no control over it in terms of where it goes. And that's so exciting because it's honest. And we live in a world and a society and a culture where a lot of people aren't honest, and they'll try and use you, they'll try and abuse you, they'll try and get money out of you, whatever it might be. Everyone's trying to use you for something, whereas your body just wants what's best for you. And it genuinely wants that. It honestly wants that. So when it's happening, it feels so honest. You can't cover it up. You can't make it look pretty. It is what it is. So when my shoulders are going, there's no denying I've got trauma in my shoulders. It's honest. So I'm like, okay, I need to do something about this. Or if you start crying, you have to be honest about it. Be like, okay, there's some stored trauma in here. There's some stored emotion that I need to release. The body doesn't lie to you. It will never lie to you. It's your best friend. You've had it since you were born. You'll have it till you die. you need to bond with it. You need to reform a connection, because so much of what we do in our daily lives distracts us from our body. We don't even have to. The way that people measure how their body's doing is with the scales. That's it. They stand on the scales, and whatever that number says, that's how their body is. And it couldn't be further from the truth. We need to wake up and we need a moment to say, how are we? How are we? Are we okay today? Are we good? Are we bonding? You know?
Yeah, that's it. And to have that internal barometer rather than rely so much on external measurements. Yeah, no, I'm really interested in this. You know, where we're going with technology and all these wearable devices. I think there's some value in them. So things like Fitbit and so on for tracking our heart rate variability and sleep, and we can these different scales you can stand on now that measure impedance, electrical impedance through the body to determine your fat levels, but which are all useful if used in the right way. But as you said, the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. If you can tune into your body and say, okay, something's not quite right here, but I'm going to work on it, and be open to other approaches. I loved what you said there about the honesty of the experience, and it fits. In my practice, I've experienced TRE myself and other releasing practices, and when I work on my clients, it's mostly what most of them expect when they come is like a massage type experience or deep tissue therapy. But I'd say in about 5 to 10% of them, there is some kind of some of these more reflexive reactions. So either twitching, or some of them get really elaborate arm movements or leg movements. So it's a smaller percentage than TRE, because they're not. I think expectation plays a big part as well. What people are expecting when they come for therapy, but yeah, the important thing is that people feel comfortable, and as you said, not to be scared of this. And if otherwise, you're just going to repress it again, aren't you?
That's it. Is if you get to a stage where you're afraid of your body, I feel like that's such a disconnect, and it needs to be the opposite. We need to trust our bodies more and realize that the last thing they want to do is harm us or scare us or upset us. They're just being honest constantly all the time, and it's like, you got back pain and it's constant. How beautiful is it that that's your body telling you you've got back pain? Like it could just be like, I'm not going to bother telling you this, and you can just go on with your life and have this terrible pain. And I'm just not good. It tells us, it's honest. And we're very quick to pop a pill and be like, I don't want that. But it's like, look at your daily habits. Maybe you're doing something wrong. But I'd be interested, man, to ask you, when it happens with your clients and stuff like the arms and stuff, what do you say is going on to them?
Usually I affirm it. So I just say, these are really good movements. Then if I can feel like, as the movements occurring, if I see a loosening in the body or a softening, then I'll just describe what I see, so that they're getting some feedback to know what the changes are. So I say, I can really feel behind your shoulder blade is loosening now after their arms doing all this. There's sometimes I say, this is very similar to a client I had a few months ago. That pattern of movement that I'm seeing is very similar, so that they know they're not the only one. It's often people who have had some trauma that you get this, or they're open about their trauma anyway. Let's say that, who get this kind of more spontaneous reaction. So yeah, it's usually just affirm. I just affirm in that, make them know that it's fine. Yeah, what they're going through, it's okay.
That's great. That's really nice. Yeah, I think it's important, man, to talk about it more, like we're doing. And I appreciate you talking to me and having me on and everything, because it's not spoken about enough. When I discovered this, I thought, why is this not in the mainstream? Why doesn't everyone do this? But ultimately, man, it's free. There's no side effects. It's really good for you, and it heals people. It's kind of like, well, there you go.
Yeah, and that's I think all these free approaches you've mentioned, cold water therapy. We've got fasting. We've got most forms of exercise are free. If people can understand and think that there's plausible reasons why these are worth investing in, and just do those basics, and then if they don't help you, then you can like go on to something more complicated, some of these clever, technology fixes and so on. We've just gone over an hour. What's next for your journey with body focus therapy? Are you going to carry on with TRE, or are you going to explore other things?
For sure, yeah. For now, I'm going to carry on with some TRE. I want to get to a point that David says once you've done enough, and he says it can take years to undo something. If you've had 26 years of trauma or whatever it is, it can sometimes take that same amount of time, or less, to undo it. It's certainly the case, as you'll know, with like posture correction and stuff like this. If you've spent however many years sat in a chair hunched over, where you need to spend the same amount of years, in the right posture or whatever it is. So I'm going to carry on with that until I get to a point where David says that you just sort of vibrate. So once you've actually let it all out, you still tremor, but it's just a little vibrate, and you just feel like your body is sort of vibrating, pulsing, and it's nowhere near as explosive. So I personally really like to do that. Also, in 6 weeks' time, me and David are going to go for another session, and I'm going to put it up. He's going to put it up, and it's basically he's going to put the videos next to each other. So the video that we did the other day, and then the new video, and he's going to see how I'm changing by doing it frequently and regularly. If it's improving me, if it's connecting me better, so that the whole body's moving rather than just separate areas, if that makes sense. So that's to come. And then, yeah, man, I'm just going to see where life takes me. It's such a beautiful journey to think that however many, like 6 months ago, I had no idea that TRE was even a thing. And now I've discovered it. And there's something else out there that I don't know exists right now. And I'm going to discover it, and I'm going to play with it, and I'm going to benefit from it.
Wonderful. And this is perfect for the In a Sense channel, in that you're curious and you want to explore and enjoy using your body in many different ways.
When I was 20, I was meditating in my room, totally sober, just enjoying a peaceful meditation practice before bed. It was a guided meditation which it kind of encouraged you to get to a good state where you were very relaxed and very in tune, and blocking out the thoughts and stuff, and just relaxed. And I ended up having an out-of-body experience from that was very intense, but very enjoyable.
So for people who haven't had any sort of meditation or had that kind of experience, how would it differ from a very vivid dream, would you say?
That's a good question, actually. The dream feels real during, and when you wake up, you realize it was just a dream, even though it probably wasn't a dream. It was probably a lesson or something. But you wake up and you very much have that feeling of it was just a dream. Whereas with this, when you're out of it, it's like, wow, that literally just happened, and I'm back. It's like you have literally gone somewhere, and now you're back here. And you think that's whatever that realm is, whatever that place is, it's still going on right now. I'm just here and it's still there. Whereas the dream, you're like, oh, that was weird. I had a dream about whatever, a giant chicken chasing me. You're like, it was just a dream. So I think that's how it differs. But when you are dreaming as well, it still feels very, I don't know what the right words to say here. It doesn't feel as real. Whereas this felt super, super real. Like you can see, you can see as clear as I see you. Whereas in dreams, it's all sort of a bit, like the classic.
And
you're in your house, but it's not your house. Your grandma appears, but it's not your grandma. It's kind of like that when you dream. Whereas this, it's very much, it is what it is.
So very different than dreaming. Have you heard of a guy called John Vervaeke?
No.
So he's got a YouTube channel, but he's got this series called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. And anyway, he's like a professor of I can't remember what it is. He studies religion and all sorts of things, neuroscience, philosophy. But he studies these transformative experiences. It sounds similar to what you've said, which they differ from a dream state. People know they differ from a dream state because they feel more real than day-to-day living. And it's in
Yeah.
And that people come back and say, okay, this really bizarre thing happened, but it stayed with me more than, something amazing that happens in my day-to-day life. So
True. It's like I remember it so much more than I remember things that happened last week. Do you know what I mean? Because it is so real, like you say. And one of the things I looked up when I was looking into it, it said one of the biggest things to happen after an experience like this is having depression, because people want to go back to that world so much. And luckily it didn't happen to me, but I kind of understand now why some of these Buddhist monks or whoever can meditate for days on end, weeks on end, months on end. I truly believe that they're in these realms doing whatever they're doing and then coming back to their body. Because why would you not want to be in that world? But at the same time, it's important to realize that you're not supposed to be there yet. You've got stuff to do here first.
Okay. So that's what it feels like to you, is that you've got stuff to do.
Exactly. Because the Golden Gate, I was like, I'm not meant to go there. The ball of light that came out was the same as me, but I wasn't supposed to go through there yet, because this ball of light is still attached to this body for now. And when one day it's not, maybe then I can go through the gate and carry on learning. Because I truly think that you don't stop learning. A lot of people think when you die, they think two things. One is either just nothing happens, or two, you go to heaven and you know everything, you know all the answers to the universe, and everything's happy days, and you just frolic in a field for the rest of your life. I truly believe that you go on learning, and that your spirit continues to learn other things. And there's so many books on this, lucid dreaming, astral projection, where people will go to other realms and other places. And there's loads of people there, and they're like, wow, what are the answers? Like, what is this? And they're like, we don't know any more than you do. We're all still learning. We're still on a journey. So personally, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, as you say, you're definitely not alone in that sense that things continue after our existence in this body comes to an end. So that was when you were about 20, you said. And how old are you now?
I just turned 26.
26, okay. And what after that? So how long did that kind of feel, that blissful sensation afterwards, or that feeling great, how long did it last for after that?
Only a few hours. After a few hours, my primitive self started to become itself again, in the sense of I wasn't consciously thinking of this, but I knew that I was a bit more scared of death again. I was scared of being hurt again, and I started to think about other things. Whereas those first few hours, I just couldn't get out of the shock factor of it. I was just like, wow, I was so joyful and loving, and my heart was open, and I felt blissful, nothing but, and I just wanted to sit, and nothing else mattered. Nothing, and little things like money worries and relationship worries and stuff seemed so trivial, and didn't even seem like it was ridiculous. I thought that I was spending my energy worrying about things. I was like, let me spend my time being joyful, because the human body has the capability to be joyful. And I thought, I'm just going to be like this forever. And then it slowly, over a few hours, everything started coming back. But you know what the crazy thing is, man? I've never been back there since, and I've never actually wanted to go back since. As in, I've never had a craving to do it. Of course, I'd like to go back one day, but I've never been like, right, let's do this again. It was very much a real thing. And it's almost like if you go on holiday and you have a great experience and then you come back, sometimes you think, do you know what? That was a beautiful little chapter. That was a beautiful little experience, but I'm going to do some other things before I go back there. That's kind of what it felt like, which was, special.
Well, I guess you're lucky in some way, because I've heard other people who have these blissful experiences or ecstasy-like experiences, and then have a craving, and it becomes painful for them. And as you said, that can lead to depression. So,
absolutely.
Pleased to hear that you didn't suffer from that. So, how can we find out more about your work? If anyone wants to watch that video the upcoming video with you, with David Bercelli, where can they find you?
Sure. So I'm on YouTube. It's just my name, George Horlock. The last name is Horlock. I'm also on Instagram, George_Horlock. Horlock. And then you can go on David's YouTube as well, which I'm sure you'll link, or I've got it on my channel as well. You can go on his channel, and that video that you're referring to is on there for everyone to see. And he will upload the second video that we filmed in about 6 weeks' time as well.
Great. I'll include links to your channels and David's at the bottom of this video.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, George. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for being so generous with an open. And yeah, I hope we can stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.